I'm delighted to say Liam Griffin is with us this morning. Liam, how are you doing? Good morning to you.
Morning, Ger. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Well, the championship is alive anyway, and
Sure is. Yeah.
It's feverish. What did you make of Davy pre-match and post-match?
I thought the whole game was tense, and I thought there was a lot of tension around, and I think the weather conditions had a lot to do with it, because fellas started to miss early on, and so signs Wexford only got 1 point in the first half from play. I think Aidan only got a point, and Galway only got 2 in the second half against the wind. So the wind in Salt Hill seems to cause havoc in games, and I think that makes the players even more agitated, and there seemed to be a bit of agitation for sure, and no one really settled. Having said that, look at Davy's box office, no matter what we say. We talk about Davy here. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Davy is what he is, and he's not going to change, and he brings so much passion, and he does a lot of that. And whether we like it or not, that's the way he is. And he had a very justifiable case yesterday, because last week in Dublin, there was an incident off the ball in the Dublin match, and the linesman was looking the wrong way. Now, you expect the officials to do their job on the sideline. They should spot something which is actually opposite him. So he has a point. How he reacts, yes, okay, he reacts that way, and that's the way he is.
Yeah, so Dai Regan's making the point that at some point he feels like the county board are going to step in and say tone it down, but that's very unlikely, really, given that you.
No, I would say the county board would be saying that to Davy. I think they'd be trying to say to him, look at Davy, calm down. But would you like to take it on, Ger? Would I like to take it on? No, not going to do it. It's not going to happen. And okay, it can go so far, but at the end of the day, the issue for me is the match. And I thought that Wexford, we went into both games against Dublin and against Galway, which, that was a serious away draw to us. And I would have been very happy to come out of it with 2 points. Now, we've come out of it with 2 points. I think we could have won the Dublin match. Dublin could have argued the opposite as well. And yesterday, I would say we should have won yesterday's match. And I thought we played some of the best hurling we've ever played under Davy for that purple patch in the middle when we made a comeback. I thought that's the best hurling and the best demonstration of the game that Davy wants to play. And the short passing game, and it worked really well. They got some magnificent points. The equalising points from Liam McGovern was absolutely fantastic. And Jack O'Connor made a massive difference when he came in, and the ball he played back to Carl Dunbar. Unfortunately, Carl just didn't catch it right. And that's it. And I thought there were some great passages of play in the game itself, despite all of the negative stuff around it as well.
Yeah, and they've got Carlo up next, and with all due respect to Carlo, they're not going to go to Wexford Park and win that game. So you would expect.
Well, in fairness, Ger, we have, over the years, we've always had issues with these absolute certain matches, and the same with Galway yesterday. You would have thought Galway were racing certain days. Carlo have a game to win somewhere, and they're going to really try, and Colin Ballard's done a great job. So that game cannot be taken for granted. Wexford need 4 points, that's it. We need to beat Carlo, and we need to beat Kilkenny and Wexford Park to make it through to the next level. But you know what? I think that if we had beaten Dublin, we'd have got an extra 20% out of the team going forward, because they need to make this bit of a breakthrough, and if they do, I think that team is going to soar a bit higher.
That's the difference, isn't it? Though? Sorry, let's. Yeah. I'm not writing Carlo off or anything, but I'm assuming that.
No, I know.
The improvement that we saw from that purple patch yesterday from Wexford is exactly the foundational stone, followed by a victory against Carlo, which would set them up for a home match with everything on the line against Kilkenny in the final round of the round robin. So. I don't know. That's exactly the type of atmosphere that Davy wants to build around this team.
Well, in fairness. And having been in management, that's the game I'd like to have. I'd like to have it all on the line. I'd like to wind up having it all on the line. And that's the end of it, because then there is no ambiguity. You just get the job done, or you don't get it done. And, all the side shows don't matter anymore. And I think it's going to be on the line. I think Wexford will beat Carlo, and I think it's going to be on the line in Wexford Park. We've got to beat Kilkenny, and I think it could then wind up a Wexford-Kilkenny Leinster final. But it's all to play for. And look isn't it great? I mean, the game, everyone say, wasn't this and it wasn't that. It was a great game in many respects, and yet it had bad patches. But I think sometimes we're looking for too many scores out of 10 for every single game we see. That's just an opinion.
Wexford obviously scored only 2 points in the opening half an hour of yesterday's game. The free taking was an issue. Was there anything else that you saw that was a genesis for that?
Yeah, no, I thought the free taking was poor, and I just think that's going to haunt us if we don't get that right. Now, Lee Chin did a great job against Dublin, but we need absolute consistency. We are, with all due respects to the whole world, we are not good enough unless we're able to convert to convertibles. We need to convert to convertibles, and we need to limit the opportunities we give other people on fouling and so forth. That's an absolute must. So, from our perspective, that's got to be got right for the rest of the championship. We need consistency on the free taking side, and that hasn't happened. Now, Lee did a great job against Dublin, but fair play to him. The win conditions were bad, but we did have a few very bad misses as well. But then Galway only got 2 points from playing the second half. So let's be fair. That wind in Salt Hill seems to do a hell of a job on a game, and that's not the first time, like in football as well.
It was interesting actually that Wexford won the toss and elected to play against the wind. It's almost as if Davy has more of a belief in his system in the second half of the game. Or I don't know how to even read that, Liam. It's almost as if...
I'd have done the same.
Right.
The bottom line is you don't need Galway with the wind behind them and a screaming crowd trying to come back from 7 or 8 points down. I think you're on a hiding to nothing at that stage. So I think that was the right option. He made the right call. I think it was the right thing to do. We lost a minor Leinster semi-final to Laois a few years ago with a very good team, Conor MacDonald and Kevin Foley and all those guys on it. We had a super team. We played and we were supposed to play against the wind. We didn't, and they got the win in the second half, and we got the win too early, and they came back and caught us with a late goal. And these things come back to haunt you. So on average, I think it's a good idea to play against the wind, especially if you're going to playing away from home, if you can contain them in the first half. And actually, Wexford did that. And Galway didn't get a goal in the first half. I was just praying they wouldn't get a goal, because if they got a goal, it might have put too big a gap between us. But it was very doable at half time. So that was the right call on the day.
Liam, what did you make of Galway? Because this is a team who last year were considered All-Ireland favourites the whole way up to at least the semi-final stage, and looked almost unbeatable until eventually they didn't quite perform at their own level in the semi-final and final, and they've come way back, it seems, this year. So where are they, and what do you make of the rest of their season?
Well, they're in a difficult position now because they're going to go. Dublin have to beat Galway, and they've got to beat Dublin, and they've got to beat Kilkenny to stay in this championship. And I on the form of yesterday, I don't see it. But there's more to Galway than what we saw yesterday, and I think our game might bring them on a bit. But look, they're in a very rocky position, and they blow hot and cold anyway. Unfortunately, even in the best of times, over many years, they blow hot and cold, and it's seeped into this team as well. So they need to get their act together for the next 2 games, or they will be gone.
Yeah, so there is a sense that obviously without Joe Canning in any team, the team is going to be transformed. But like the impact that Canning will have on the opposition, just the best defender will go on Canning. Suddenly the second best defender is marking somebody else in that forward line, and that forward line suddenly begins to break even in ways that you don't really notice until Canning is gone.
Yeah. No, look, Canning is a huge player. I've been watching him since he's 15 years of age. He drew an All-Ireland final against us in under-16 hurling with 2 sideline cuts from the far side of midfield. And I said, who the hell is that guy? And then I was told he was Ollie's brother. And I said, my God, he's going to be some player. And he has been all of that. But you know what? You have to get over these things. We've got Jack Guiney in America. Jack Guiney is potentially a Joe Canning. And he never has seen he's never seen that out. And it's a pity. We've got Andrew Shore. Andrew Shore is in Spain. We could argue all day. Look, you've got to play with what you have. And Galway have to play, if Joe was injured, right through the whole year. He could get knocked down in the first minute of the next game, and that's it. So you've got to actually have the steel to play without your best players. That's the way it is in sport, no matter what happens.
There is a sense at the moment, possibly to do with the quality of the fare that we've seen, essentially really from the Tipperary side so far, that there's a significant gap between Leinster and Munster at the minute, that Munster is very far ahead of where Leinster are. Is that real, or is part of that to do with the fact that we've had these kind of not great games in the Leinster Championship so far?
Yeah, I say that's a fair assessment. I think it looks behind it. We've always the Leinster Championship has never generated that same feel as the Munster Championship over all of the years. Yeah, you had the rivalries with Wexford and Kilkenny over the years, and Offaly and Kilkenny, but it never generated that same rivalry. So historically, Munster hurling is always seen as that. But you know what? When it gets out to All-Ireland finals, you just tally it up and see what happens then. You'll see the likes of Kilkenny come along and storming these teams that have come out through this fantastic thing in Munster. And Leinster teams, Offaly, Wexford ourselves, we won against the odds too. We were supposed to be way behind Munster at that time. That's been going on for as long as I'm watching hurling. But in fairness, it looks like that at the moment, and it appears like that. It's a different type of game, and I think that intensity in Munster is just fantastic to watch. But it's not necessarily a guarantee that Munster are going straight through to win an All-Ireland.
You said you think it's probably going to be a Wexford, Kilkenny, Leinster final. The third team to go through will be Galway, do you think?
Well, I don't know. It's up for grabs still. But Dublin have got something to say about that, and I think that Dublin could get to 4 points out of that. So it's all to play for. It's going to come down to a Dublin-Galway match, in fact, between the two of them. That's assuming Wexford wins against Kilkenny. So Wexford could lose to Kilkenny, but I think it's going to come down. I think Dublin have got to view, or Galway have got to view it as their big game. Their knockout game is going to be the Dublin game, because I don't think they'll beat Kilkenny in Nolan Park.
Right. Liam, good stuff. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, lads. Thank you very much.
Liam Griffin gave us some thoughts after what happened at the weekend.